Hi, my name is Dolly Quinn, and I want to present two new knitting techniques. One is a cast-on and one is a bind-off. I'm calling them Imitation I-cord Cast-on and Imitation I-cord Bind-off because they kind of resemble I-cords, and they also are identical. On this little swatch here, this edge right here is the cast-on, and if you will notice, there is a V-stitch formed on the back on the reverse side, and there is a V-stitch formed on the edge, which is why it kind of resembles an I-cord. When I did this swatch, I also did a row of purl stitches, but that's not part of the technique. On the other edge is the bind-off, which if you look at them closely, they resemble each other. Here again you have two rows of V-stitches and a purl row that I put in there to try and keep the curl down a little bit. So I'm going to start with showing you the cast-on. What you will need is a knitting needle and a crochet hook. The crochet hook should be approximately the same size in millimeters as the knitting needle. It could be a little bit smaller, but not larger. So you're going to take your yarn and make a slip stitch and put that slip stitch on your knitting needle. This is simply to anchor the yarn. It will be removed once you begin to knit. So the way you start is you take your crochet hook, place it across the top of the knitting needle in an X formation. Hold the two needles in your left hand, take the working yarn in your right hand, and wrap it around both needles, across the front and around the back. Then you do a second wrap around just the crochet hook. You're going to pull that wrap through the first wrap, and you've now formed your first stitch on your knitting needle, and you have a stitch on your crochet hook. This is your slip stitch. So tighten that slightly just to snug it up. Put your needles back in the X position and do another one. So you take your yarn in your right hand, bring it across the top, around the back, that's your first wrap. Across the top of your crochet hook and around the back, that's your second wrap. Bring that through the first wrap, through the loop that was on the crochet hook, and snug it up. You now have your second stitch on your knitting needle. And that's really all there is to it. You just keep doing that over and over until you have one stitch less than the required number of stitches that you need on your knitting needle, because your last stitch will be formed by the loop on your crochet hook. So let me do a few more for you. Around both needles, around the crochet hook, pull through the wrap and the stitch on the crochet hook and snug it up. Around both needles, around the crochet hook, pull it through the wrap and the stitch, snugged it up too much, on your crochet hook. Again, around both needles, around the crochet hook, through the first wrap and through the stitch that was on the crochet hook. Around both needles, around the crochet hook, pull through the first wrap and through the loop that was on the crochet hook. So now I have a slip stitch that we started with, which we're not going to count. I have 2, 4, 6, 7, and I'm going to do a wrap around just the crochet hook to do a chain stitch, and I'm going to put this stitch on, I got it in reverse, okay. Put this stitch on your knitting needle so that the leg of that stitch presents itself correctly. So then you would begin to knit or purl, whichever you prefer, because the cast-on is reversible, so it really doesn't matter which side is the right side or the wrong side. So I will knit through to the end. Just split that. And there's your slip stitch, so you just pull your needle out and give it a little tug and it goes away. So there is a lovely new cast-on. Now I'm going to show you the bind-off, which is pretty simple. I have a swatch here with garter stitch, and it has the cast-on that I just demonstrated, which is quite flexible. And we're now going to start the bind-off. To start the bind-off, you're going to do what you normally do, and that is to knit one stitch, knit the second stitch, and pass the first stitch over the second stitch. From here, you're going to take the left leg of the second stitch that you knit and put it over the right hand needle. You're going to knit the next stitch and pass these two loops over that last knit stitch. So let me show you that again. Take the left leg of the last knit stitch and place it over the right needle. Knit the next stitch and pass these two stitches over that last knit stitch. Pick up the left leg of the last knit stitch, put it on your right hand needle, knit the next stitch, and pass these two over that knit stitch. Pick up the left leg, put it on your right hand needle, knit the next stitch, pass these two over the last knit stitch. And you will continue that across to the end, and to finish you will just pass your yarn, cut your yarn and pass it through the last loop and pull it tight. So there you have it, the Imitation I-cord Bind-off. I hope you'll have an opportunity to try these two techniques and see how you like them. Thank you for watching.